Hi, welcome to another video on this channel. I'm currently on a trip, which is why I'm not in my usual spot. I'm in a business center and I can't figure out how to turn the air conditioning on, which is why I'm pretty sweaty at 7 a.m. in the morning. Hopefully the production quality isn't that bad, given the unusual setup, but I mean, so far the production quality has been lacking in the channel. I mean, that's just been a function of time and investment. That'll get better with time, don't worry. But I want to talk today about something that I was working on, and I was working with AI, and I'm no longer in that job. I'm no longer trying to get that kind of job, honestly. And what I was doing there really was, automating workflows for people in other industries in a way that would drastically reduce like the workload that would have to be done by humans. And obviously that could translate to fewer and fewer jobs for people. I mean, it's not necessarily true, but it's likely true. And you have to like reckon with it. Like when you're working with AI and you're working with the possibility of whether or not AI will be something that takes people's jobs away and what impact that could have on the world. And thinking about the possibilities of AI, I have truly been worried, to say the least. I'm also excited because AI could be amazing. AI could be awesome. AI could be exactly what we need in humanity to have an abundance of everything. A lot of things be automated. It could really be good and it could lead to paradise, but I think we have to be really careful about who we have it lead to paradise to, because it's not, just because we have this technology does not ensure that it will be used for the benefit of all. And in fact, more and more I'm worried that the systems in place aren't really designed to do that at all. Before we talk about like what things could go right or wrong, I already gave some ideas, but like let's think about why we should be a little bit worried, or at least like with our eyes open about AI. And it's, what is it like AI capable of it? And like people say that, well, like the industrial revolution came and sure that made some jobs obsolete, but then other jobs took its place and the economy kept growing. And that was true. That definitely did happen. But I would say that if you had a job that was lifting very things, or like you were one of 20 people who were lifting very heavy rocks, or if you were, like we never paid horses, but if you were a horse, surely your job dragging carts was over. And yeah, jobs did keep coming, but one of the things we could do got taken out, right? And the thing that scares me, which differentiated humans from everything else, from every other animal in the world and every machine, is that we can think and we can reason. And I would say that without a doubt for me, AI in its current state can think and can reason. Not necessarily to the extent that us humans can, but our brains have 86 billion neurons on average, and there are 500 billion model parameters these days, right? So that means that in terms of numbers of ins and outs, if you want, you can actually call, and then people did in machine learning. People called the cells in a neural network. They called them neural network. They called them neurons, and you could say that AI already has more neurons than the average brain. And if you see how like the neurons themselves are structured, you could see some kind of reasoning that is very, I wouldn't say very similar, but like at least similar enough to the way the neurons work in our brain, in the sense that we get electrical inputs and we send electrical outputs. Now, obviously, our brains are the culmination of billions of years of evolution, and but I'd say that AI is part of that evolution. We, as beings that are the most intelligent on this planet, have created something that is even more intelligent than us, at least insofar as it is regurgitating information and passing tests. So have we made our own replacements? Possibly. Like a good thinker in this space, someone that I really respect, is Yuval Noah Harari, who wrote *Sapiens* and wrote *Nexus*, and in his last book, which I have not read the book, but I've heard like 10 podcasts of him speaking about the book, because I'm more of an audio person. I like reading, but it's harder for me. And he compares AI to immigrants. So like we're creating hundreds, if not millions, or hundreds of millions or billions. In the rich nations, there's been a lot of immigration. Most of it has been low skill immigration, but there also has been a lot of high skill immigration in places like the U.S. and places like Japan. Well, not as much in Japan because Japan is a little anti-immigrant, but in Europe there's been a lot of high skill and low skill immigration, and that's taken away some jobs from people. You could argue that it's also made things better, and in the same way that AI can make life better for all of us, so could immigrants, right? In the sense that it's people who are productive to society, and the idea is that someone is more productive to society than if someone produces more than what they take from, then that person will be a net plus to your country. And the same will be true of AI in that sense. The issue is that AI doesn't need to sleep, doesn't need to eat, doesn't ask for a wage increase, and so it naturally makes it very competitive with us humans. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of jobs left. Like there's probably going to be a bunch of like psychology jobs, teacher jobs, entertainment jobs. I think that stuff produced by humans will become more valuable than stuff become by AI, just because there will be more AIs and more like models being invoked than there will be people, just because again, we have limitations, like biological limitations. We grow slowly. I can do 5,000 consults to like OpenAI within the next hour, or even more, probably even more. But in that sense, it means that it'll be hard to compete in fields that are repetitive reasoning and cognitive tasks. I think jobs like accounting, I would think, are in danger unless you want to be a little bit creative with it. Well, you can also probably train the AI to be creative with the accounting, no? But these kind of jobs that are very repetitive and cognitive heavy are in danger, in my opinion, and that's already shown in like LinkedIn job postings. Some studies have said that for like every one AI job appearing, like 3 others have disappeared. We'll probably need some new jobs like a data verifier if we still trust human judgment over the judgment of AIs. We will need humans to like look at the data and label it and make sure that it's correctly labeled. But there's no reason that AI can't start to do that in the future, right? And that's kind of like the issue, right? So it's like, because it can reason, whether or not it can reason as well as us remains to be seen. I would argue that in a lot of ways yes, and in a lot of ways no. But obviously, like, not all humans are equal as well. But basically, like, even if you had a job like managing or taking advantage of AI, if it's mostly reasoning and like using a computer, there really isn't a good reason why in the future AI couldn't do that as well. And honestly, this sounds terrible, but it could be great. It could mean that we have a lot more free time and everything that was produced still gets produced. But this goes to my first real worry, which is like the economy, right? So if there's less jobs, people have less income, and so like the less jobs we do, like more people competing for those jobs means that obviously people who pay can pay less, because that's how supply and demand works. The more supply of workers there are, the more like the price gets lowered. And therefore, that could be very, very bad in the sense that less people have wages if we don't figure out a way to restructure this. Now, here's the thing, and this is like the really important part of it. It's like, who owns AI? And more than who owns AI, like who owns like who has like the model in front of them, the model parameters. Because that part I'm not too worried about. Who has the model, the parameters, isn't as big an issue for me. Because I think that a lot of companies and corporations and countries are going to have a strategy of making AI that is perhaps not the pinnacle, but like 99% or 98% of the pinnacle. and make it freely available and open source for everyone, which means that anyone can take advantage of this. But my worry is who owns like AI infrastructure, so that is data centers that manage where like this technology gets stored and all the information passes through, or who owns the applications that are most useful with AI. And if it's concentrated in fewer and fewer hands, as has become the case in the world, like never has like so few corporations owned so much of the stock market in the U.S. At least in our modern times, that we should really be worried about how few people hold the levers of power. And you know, we're gonna grow our way to modern kingdoms again through this method. First, we may go through some sort of techno-feudalism, as like some people have been saying, but really the end result is that whoever owns like, again, the means of production, if you want to get a little Marxist in this case, but whoever owns like where the data center are, where the companies are, whoever makes the decisions will basically get to do whatever they want. And we basically depend entirely on their generosity. Like, throughout history, there have been good kings, but you know, A, even if you are a good king, you don't have all the information in the world. And B, you're very unlikely to be a good king if you have all that power, because the power generally corrupts. And here's the thing, like the genius of capitalism, at least like when the money is more equal, is that no one knows better what the needs of the people are than the people themselves, right? So like the people themselves, if they have money, they can purchase things that they want, and they'll be like, hey, this is good, this is bad, no, I'm not gonna pay this much for that, you're asking too much money for that. That is the genius of capitalism when money isn't concentrated. But the problem with capitalism is that it also tends towards the concentration of money, and you need events like World War II or very generous people like FDR to make sure that the money starts to be spread around with everyone. What that indicates is that we really, really have to make sure that we get society ordered in the right way, because if not, it's going to lead to economic disaster where people won't have wages. And maybe I'm wrong, but I highly doubt it. I mean, I highly doubt that I'll be wrong, that if things remain as they are, like organized as they are, then it's going to be a disaster. Because I don't know, maybe people think humans are special. And I mean, like, I guess we can be more special than other animals because we are very intelligent. But there's no reason to think that our intelligence is the only kind of intelligence that's out there, or that our intelligence is the pinnacle of intelligence in the world. We can always get smarter, and that's true of our technology as well. And that's the thing, like right now, AI is already taking jobs, and it's an infant. So AI is already making some jobs disappear, even if it's not, whether it's many or not, who can say, but it's an infant. It is in diapers at the moment. And that makes us have to realize that this is going to get worse, and cognitive tasks will be going the way to the people that don't need to like earn a wage and don't need to eat or sleep. And that takes me to a perhaps even more terrifying fear, which is that if our politicians and our leaders and the most powerful among us don't make sure that society is organized well, and lives get worse for people, and we protest or even rebel or even riot, and whether or not we have to riot is going to be dependent on how bad things get, because like obviously, you know, like riots are bad if things are going well. If things are going poorly, riots are completely understandable, because it's like, hey, like our lives are getting worse and worse, and there's no hope of it getting better anytime soon. So, you know, riots are the language of the unheard, as MLK said. And, you know, like, you know, I'd rather not riot. I'd rather not be on that side, which is why I do this channel, because I want people to be informed, people that are in power to make the right choices, and us to pressure those people in power to make those right choices. But the scary thing with AI, and it's already being used this way, is that it is a tool for precise genocide. And that's a horrible way to think about it, but it is going to be like that. So like, one reason that, like, you know, when people riot, and they don't get bombed is because, well, A, that would look terrible, but B, you destroy a lot of infrastructure. You destroy a lot of valuable stuff if you blew things up, right? And, what would be even better for the people in power is killing the people who are inconvenient without destroying the property, without destroying the infrastructure, without destroying the means of production. And that's possible with AI. You can have a drone that detects your face in a crowd, detects whether or not you're protesting, detects whether or not you have a weapon in your hands, and shoots you right in the face. That technology almost assuredly exists. I don't know how effective it is, but as someone who studied computer vision, AI, and knows that drones can shoot, this is pretty obvious that this should be possible right now. The fact that I could confidently say that I would have a drone that could do this within 5 years if I dedicated my whole time to it makes me completely certain that the giant militaries of the world have this technology. And if they don't, they will have soon. But I'm pretty sure they do already. And so what that means to me is that I think that AI will be a very, very, very precise weapon of mass destruction. And that's pretty terrifying. I've heard a little bit of, I don't know if it's conspiracy theories or not, but that people consider that the wars in Ukraine and in Gaza, though I don't want to just call that a war, because at this point it's like, at the very least, mass starvation on purpose, and more likely than not a genocide. Whether or not, we don't want to equate things, but it's very horrible what's going on right there. Like whether that's a testing ground for AI systems made by companies like Palantir, made by companies like Lockheed Martin. And there's some theories out there that they're testing those weapons out right now. And they're seeing how effective they are to make them even more effective in the future. And yeah, like these things are happening. Like these technologies they're being developed, and they are being used in war. And what our militaries and our companies that, personally I think Peter Thiel, Mr. I don't know if humanity should persist, has the information from this war, more likely than not, almost assuredly. That is something that's very, very dangerous. Especially because, like, what if they start to develop their own killer drones? Then what stops them from doing their own coup or killing whoever they think are inconvenience? And we really have to start sharing power within everyone, so that people like Thiel that don't believe humanity should persist don't hold all the cards. And something like Terminator really isn't out of the question, I would say. I think it's more completely likely than not. I saw this video, maybe I'll tag it here, of a company that put ChatGPT inside a robot. And because ChatGPT and AI can reason at the moment, you can make something like, you can make it say like, hey, if you think the robot should move left in this situation, just return the word left. And if you have something that's a string, you can change that into discrete information, but you can change it to a robot's action. So yeah, Terminator is completely possible. The only thing that would actually make it a reality is that we unleashed the AI's decision making on the technology itself, which it will be possible to do for sure, but would be exceedingly stupid unless we all want to die. But it might be something that people do if it becomes an arms race, if there's large scale war and people start fighting, and it's like, well, we have to make weapons that are even more devastating, then perhaps people will start to do that. And obviously that's a nightmare scenario for us. We really, really hope that does not happen. I think we can all say that. Unlike Peter Thiel, I think most humans are pro-humanity. But yeah, that's a very scary scenario, and I think that we should be very worried about this technology. We should take advantage of it for sure. We should be excited and worried, right? This is the problem. Like, nuclear energy can make you a lot of clean energy for like a country or something like that, but it can also cause mass destruction. And we should view AI in the same way. It's not that it's something bad. It's not that it's something that we should like shy away from, but we really have to make sure that we organize society correctly, that we share power, that we make sure that the means of production aren't owned by a very few people, and that in the end, that we aren't dominated by these kinds of people. Like, I'm not advocating for communism or socialism or anything like that, but I am advocating for methodologies that would make sure that people can't get like too rich, that we can't have people be worth $300 billion. Even a few $1 billion is more than enough for any person. And obviously in the future there might be inflation, but we should measure that in comparison to the median wage. We should measure that in comparison to the median wage. And but we have to make sure that we have more equal power in society, because if not, things can get really, really dark. And hopefully you will talk to your friends about this. You will make sure that when you vote, it's something that you have top of mind. And, call your congressman, call your whoever's in charge, put it on Twitter, repost things, people that say things, stuff like that. Make sure that you find candidates that are willing and that are willing to think about this and aren't just letting it happen. Because we can't, this technology is going to be revolutionary. And in my opinion, it's going to make a lot of human laborers obsolete. So we have to make sure that whatever happens, we are responsible and that we organize society correctly. Well, thank you for your time. And if you have any questions or anything like that, or anything you want to comment, please comment in the comment section down below. And share this video if you found it interesting. See ya.